along with the Finite Math course. The syllabus has our learning objectives and our academic outcomes. Lots of ways you can get a hold of the syllabus. Left side of the menu on the Blackboard course, there's a hyperlink in Unit 0, the Start Here page. Third screen in the Unit 0 soft chalk lesson has the complete syllabus, and there'll also be a printed copy the first day of class. That syllabus is our contract, if you will. So there's all these course policies in there. One specific to our course, student resource listing, the Hartford Community College policy listings. And they're the same in all the syllabi. Probably bored of reading them, but that's okay. We can deal with that. Now, what we do want to pay attention to in the syllabus is this next part. There's a grading policy in there. So how do you get the grade you're interested in this course? And the answer is, well, you got to do the work. You earn the points. And there's lots of ways to get the points in exams, Excel projects, quizzes, individual projects, group projects, some in class, some outside of class. And so very simply, these points that you're earning, and by the way, there's opportunities to earn points at fundamentally every single class period. You add up all these points as we go along, and there's 1,000 possible total. So what do we do with the grade? That's easy. At the end of the semester, I just have all the points totaled up. And by the way, you'll be able to see your totals, running totals all the time because they're posted in Blackboard. And then it's really simple. You got 900 points out of the 1,000 or more than that, you get an A. 800 to 899.9 is a B. Anything in the 700s is a C. Anything in the 600s, well, you passed, although with a non-transferable D grade. And below 600 points, it's fails. Not that I want any of those, but they do sometimes happen. So what you want to do, though, is take a look at the syllabus there and look at those point values and see where they are. And one thing you'll see is that there's actually no homework grade per se, but what happens there is the quizzes and the tests have their problems all taken from the homework. So for example, if the homework says do questions number 7, 9, and 11, there's a really good chance that question 10, question 8 will be what I have on a quiz or on a test. I have no imagination when it comes to writing test questions. I take them straight from the homework style problems. Now, the other thing you'll notice about the syllabus, though, is that if you're not real keen on taking math tests, this is a pretty good class to be in because there's not really very many total points involved in the test. Yeah, there's 400s, 40% of the grade, but compare that to some classes where your midterm is 40% of your grade and your final exam is 60% of your grade. Boy, if you don't do well in the final, you're sunk for the whole semester. Not true with finite math. Lots of opportunities. One of those opportunities includes using Excel, either 2019 or the 365 version that comes with every student's Microsoft package here. And we've got a couple of these Excel projects, which you'll do, and they're actually worth a fair number of points. Most people score really well on that. Late work, well, I have the option of giving you a 0, or I might accept it. I have an attendance policy. The key word there is excused absence. Excused means I know about it ahead of time, no matter how lame the excuse actually is. I have the option to give you makeup work if there was a quiz or an in-class exercise. And as noted on the syllabi, there's attendance at the points, and they're given at the very end of the semester. It's 40 points for attendance. There's subtractions for every unexcused absence you have. If you have perfect attendance, no unexcused absences, in other words, there's another 10 points added on that, so it's possible of 50. Now, the general HCC policies are all in there. They're also now over on a soft chalk piece that you can link to. And I have to tell you, they're a must read. One of the ones that's in there is this federal definition of a credit hour. And there was that concern nationally about the online coursework really quality and quantity of what was going on. So if it's listed as a 3-hour course like this one is, we have 3 lecture hours per week to get those 3 credits. And then you have 2 to 3 hours of study on top of each hour in lecture. So that's another 6 to 9 hours of study. So you add all that up over 30 sessions, you get about 120 hours, which should, by definition, result in a passing grade. Not an A, just a passing grade, in other words, a D. But if you're putting in that amount of time, that means you're doing the homework. That means you understand how to work the problems. That means you're going to do well on the test and do well on the Excel projects and do well on the in-class exercise. Shouldn't be a problem for anybody. Now, the college has an attendance policy. Take a look at that. You're expected to attend all the classes. Now, there's 2 little caveats in there. One, if there's college extracurricular activities, those are excused absences. So you're on a sports team or the environmental club's taking a field trip that's all day long. That becomes an excused absence, presuming, of course, I know about it ahead of time. You still have to do the work, but it's an excused absence. Now, at the college level, they consider it a violation with 3 consecutive class periods, and I'm required to report that, put it in on ALNet, and that leads to a loss of the financial aid, and you really don't want to get into that problem. Neither does the school, because it costs them money too. So anyway, on the syllabus, there's all these academic policies, there's all these student support policies, and you can take a look at that. There's also the policy about class cancellation, which says basically check ALMail and expect there to be a full day's worth of work should class be canceled. Every syllabus has a disclaimer somewhere near the end that says everything on here can be amended, but I have to tell you about it. Now, Blackboard is being used in this course. Now, it's no longer the primary source like it might have been for all remote classes, but it does have a schedule of topics, and I typically have the lectures posted after class. Also on Blackboard is the suggested homework problems that I've mentioned. We've got a little bit of use of soft chalk, including lesson 0. Soft chalk you just access with a web browser. You don't need additional software there. For both Blackboard and soft chalk, the manufacturers are suggesting Chrome is probably your best browser to use. We do have some good news, though, about all of that. This course is returned fully in person, so all those pandemic-related problems we had with remote learning and finite math, where you had to show all work and I had to have some indication that you were demonstrating your critical thinking. Those were really difficult for online math courses, and that's all gone now. Finite Math's back to 100% face-to-face, no online only, no split classes. So it works a lot better, and I'm happy for it that way too. Now, my friends over in the biology side of the STEM division came up with some of these quality study skill ideas, and they said I could use them. And they're really quite good. The first idea is, and true for math, not just anatomy and physiology, is that you got to spend the required time, but you also have to pace yourself on it. So 60 minutes a day, an hour a day, 6 days a week, that gives you 6 hours for the outside study for the week. That is a whole lot better than trying to cram all 6 hours in the night before the test. Math, a lot of other subjects just don't go down well in large chunks. You have to chop them up into smaller bites so your brain can get a handle around it. So what you want to do is schedule your study time and stick to that schedule and have a study space that's conducive to your learning style, which probably means not where your younger siblings running around right around beside you. So maybe it's at your house, or maybe it's at the HCC library. But anyway, you've got a space, you're focusing on learning the material, taking an active role in learning that material, by which I mean you're asking questions in class or after class for that matter, working lots of the problems, all the homework problems, additional problems if some of the homework give me a little difficulty. You can record the classes. I allow all that. Reciting them back, perhaps. Concept maps, maybe. Drawings, diagrams, flowcharts. Those can be really handy in this particular class. So we have some process we're going through, and you can write your own little flowchart on the steps to take, and that can often be quite helpful. Some people recopy their notes, takes care of a couple of different styles at the same time. Forming study groups can work quite well. We're going to hear from the Learning Center people early in the semester. They can facilitate some of that as well. One thing that the bio people suggested was writing your own practice test questions. Well, that turns out to be more applicable here than you may have suspected, because I have quiz questions that say, based on the material that we just covered on whatever the subject was there, write test questions for me. And that is a good test question and is scored in your favor. And in fact, if they're good, I use them again myself, give your questions to the rest of the class on some future quiz or something. So practicing writing test questions is a good idea. There's some test taking ideas here. Now, granted, we already looked at the idea there's not so much emphasis on exams in this class, but it's things we do need to think about. Taking care of yourself, food, water, sleep, that's certainly important. Now, tests in general don't have a good reputation. Math tests particularly seem to cause people anxiety. So you have that. Let's try to relax ahead of class. Slow down, read each question carefully. Use whatever method works for you as far as how to take any particular test. And that might mean you flip through the test and look for the questions that have the big point values, because I always tell you how much each question's worth, and do the big point value ones first. Or some people say, no, let me do I'll look for the ones that I know for sure that'll be quick and easy for me. I'll answer all them first and get those points. Some people say, no, just let me skim through the test and then I'll start back on page 1. Doesn't matter to me, just I'm suggesting figure out what works for you and do it that way. One thing you want to do for absolute sure, though, because I grade on showing all work, which means that partial credit is given. So make sure you've answered everything on a quiz or a test before handing it in, or at least gotten started on it, so you can have some indication that you're giving it a try and you can get partial credit for it. All right, that pretty much concludes our quick notes on this particular section.